There is something profoundly disarming about watching an episode like Cipul, Partea 2 from Las Fierbinți. On the surface, it appears to be another humorous take on rural Romania's technological confusion, yet beneath the layers of jokes, misunderstandings, and exaggerated gestures lies a subtle and piercing commentary on identity, control, and the fear of modernity. What makes this episode so captivating is not the plot itself, but the emotional resonance it creates within a community that is constantly trying to reconcile who they are with who the world tells them they should be. From the very first scene, there is a sense of unrest, a mild anxiety that something invisible is creeping into Fierbinți, something that challenges the village's collective sense of normalcy. The chip becomes a metaphor not only for surveillance or technology, but for the loss of simplicity, the erosion of trust, and the constant suspicion that change always comes at too high a price. The camera opens on a typical day, where everyone seems to be talking about something new. The rumor spreads faster than any device could ever transmit data. Someone heard that the government is going to implant chips into citizens to control their thoughts, or track their movements, or steal their souls. The absurdity of it makes it funny, but the fear in their eyes makes it real. Gianni, with his usual overconfidence, claims to know everything about the chips, explaining to the others how these micro-devices can make you hear voices or send your dreams to America. His words are ridiculous, yet everyone listens. Nobody wants to be the one left behind in ignorance. This scene captures something universal, how misinformation becomes a kind of local folklore, a shared narrative that replaces truth with comfort. The humor of the episode lies in how sincerely the villagers treat nonsense as fact. Branzoi, who always sees conspiracies where there are none, becomes the voice of paranoia. He claims that the mayor already has a chip. That's why he always knows what's happening in the village. Bobica, the practical entrepreneur, tries to profit from the fear. He sells anti-chip amulets made from tinfoil, convincing people that wrapping their heads will block government waves. The scene where he demonstrates this invention is one of the most iconic moments in the episode. With his head covered in foil, he looks like a comic version of a sci-fi hero gone wrong. Everyone stares, half in awe, half in disbelief. Yet the laughter that follows isn't just at Bobica's expense. It's laughter directed at themselves, at the absurd lengths people go to in order to feel safe in a world they no longer understand. In Cipul, Partea 2, Las Fierbinți transforms into a microcosm of the human condition in the digital age. The conversations between the characters, often fueled by gossip and half-truths, resemble the information chaos of modern social media. The episode cleverly mirrors the ways people across the world misunderstand technology. Instead of learning, they fear. Instead of questioning logically, they invent stories that satisfy their emotional needs. When Firicel hears that chips might control emotions, he panics and declares that he will never fall in love again, afraid it might not be his true feeling but a programmed illusion. The simplicity of his reasoning hides a deeper sadness, the loss of agency, the confusion between genuine emotion and external influence. Visually, the episode maintains the rustic beauty typical of Las Fierbinți. The dirt roads, the faded paint on the fences, the idle chickens wandering across the screen all remind the viewer that this world exists slightly outside of time. The contrast between the setting and the futuristic theme of chips is deliberate. It exposes the absurd collision between old and new, between the ancient rhythm of village life and the invasive tempo of modern technology. When the mayor, Vasile, tries to calm everyone down by explaining that the chips are actually just for ID cards and that nobody will be implanted, the villagers refuse to believe him. His authority means nothing against collective fear. The dialogue here is both hilarious and tragic. It shows that once panic takes root, logic has no place to grow. There's an extraordinary sequence midway through the episode where everyone gathers in the bar to discuss what to do. The bar, as always, acts like the village parliament, where rumors become laws and beer replaces logic. Gianni insists that he has already found a way to detect chips using a magnet he bought from a fair. He waves it in front of everyone's head, pretending to hear static noises. The way the others react, leaning forward, touching their temples, giggling nervously, creates a sense of childlike innocence mixed with collective hysteria. The director uses long takes, allowing the humor to breathe, letting the audience sink into the rhythm of the conversation. It's not the dialogue that matters, but the pauses, the glances, the growing absurdity. What gives Cipul Partea 2 its emotional depth, however, is the realization that beneath the jokes, there's genuine fear. These characters, though comical, are not fools. They represent a generation caught in transition. Their world is being rewritten by forces they cannot control. Technology, bureaucracy, globalization, and the chip becomes a symbol of everything that's foreign and threatening. Watching this, I couldn't help but recall moments from my own childhood in a small town where rumors about computers stealing your soul or microwaves changing your DNA were whispered with equal seriousness. That same fear of the unknown, of losing one's simplicity, lingers in the laughter of Fierbintsi's villagers. There's a particularly tender scene between Aspirina and Celentano near the end, where she teases him about his paranoia, but also shows a glimmer of understanding. Celentano, in his drunken philosophy, says that maybe the chip is not something physical. Maybe it's already inside people, hidden in their habits, in their dependence on phones and screens. This line, buried under a layer of humor, is the most profound of the episode. It transforms the entire premise from a local joke into a philosophical reflection on modern enslavement. The episode's genius lies in how it allows the viewer to laugh while still feeling the weight of that truth. Another remarkable aspect is the use of repetition. The villagers repeat phrases like, "they're watching us," or "they want to control us," as if reciting a prayer. It becomes a chant, a collective affirmation of helplessness. The scriptwriters capture perfectly how fear becomes addictive, how people enjoy their paranoia because it gives them purpose. The cinematography reinforces this through slow camera pans and intimate close-ups that make the viewer part of the gossip circle. It's as though the audience is also in danger of being chipped, also part of this shared madness. By the final scenes, the panic reaches absurd levels. Some villagers start burying their phones, others refuse to go to the doctor in case they are secretly implanted. The chaos turns into a carnival of foolishness. Yet, despite the absurdity, there's an undercurrent of sadness. The laughter feels uneasy because the situation mirrors real-world behavior so closely. When the episode ends with everyone sitting silently, realizing that nothing has actually changed, the audience is left with a strange mixture of relief and melancholy. They laugh, but they also think. From a thematic perspective, Cipul Partea 2 belongs to a long tradition of Las Fierbinți episodes that use humor to dissect social anxieties. However, this particular one stands out for its relevance. In a world where misinformation spreads faster than facts, and where people believe everything except the truth, this episode becomes a mirror. It shows how communities isolate themselves through fear and how ignorance, when shared collectively, becomes culture. The writer's ability to embed this in comedy is what makes the show so brilliant. It's not mocking rural life. It's using it as a lens through which to view human fragility. I find myself thinking about how this story could play out anywhere in the world. Replace the chip with any other symbol, a vaccine, a social app, a new government policy, and the reactions would be the same. The characters of Fierbinți are universal. The skeptic, the opportunist, the philosopher, the dreamer. That's why the series resonates far beyond Romania. It's not just about villagers. It's about all of us, caught between nostalgia and progress, laughing to hide our confusion. The final minutes of the episode return to the quiet charm of the village. The sun sets, and we see Celentano walking alone, muttering to himself about how maybe he's been chipped after all because he can't stop thinking about beer. It's a perfect ending, funny, poetic, and sad all at once. The humor diffuses the tension, but it also leaves a lingering question. Have we all been chipped by the systems we live in, by the need to belong, by the invisible codes of modernity? Technically, the episode is masterfully paced. The dialogue flows naturally, capturing the rhythm of Romanian rural speech with a musical quality that's both endearing and authentic. The actors' chemistry transforms ordinary lines into memorable moments. The director avoids exaggerated setups, preferring natural light and long shots that give the illusion of documentary realism. This aesthetic choice amplifies the absurdity because everything looks so real that the comedy feels spontaneous, not staged. There's a moment I particularly love when Firicel, terrified of being tracked, decides to destroy his phone. He smashes it with a brick, declaring that now he's free. Seconds later, he borrows someone else's phone to call his wife. That contradiction encapsulates the human condition in the digital age, our desperate desire for freedom mixed with our dependence on the very tools we fear. It's not just comedy, it's social philosophy disguised as laughter. Cipul Partea 2 also revisits one of Las Fierbinți's recurring motifs, the tension between individual and collective thought. No one in Fierbinți makes decisions alone. Every idea, no matter how ridiculous, is validated by group consensus. It's a reflection of how communities maintain harmony by agreeing even on nonsense. This group mentality provides comfort, but also prevents growth. Watching the villagers debate about the chip, I couldn't help but think of how societies repeat mistakes, not because they don't know better, but because they prefer unity over truth. If there's one emotion that lingers after the laughter fades, it's empathy. You don't laugh at these characters. You laugh with them. You recognize their confusion, their need for belonging, their innocent defiance of a world they can't control. The show never judges them. Instead, it lets them exist in their contradictions. This is perhaps why Las Fierbinți has become a cultural mirror for Romania and a symbol of rural authenticity in television comedy. It tells stories that are both local and universal, personal and collective. When I finished watching Cipul, Partea 2, I found myself reflecting not only on the village, but on my own relationship with technology. How many times have I believed a rumor, felt anxious about an update, or feared that progress was erasing something human? The genius of this episode is that it plants those thoughts quietly, without preaching. It lets the laughter do the teaching. It turns satire into empathy. As the credits rolled, I imagined the villagers sitting again at the bar the next day, ready to discuss something new, maybe about aliens, or 5G, or invisible waves. Because that's how life in Fierbinți goes on, absurd, touching, and deeply human. The village becomes a metaphor for the world, and the world, in turn, looks a lot like Fierbinți.